Sonic the Hedgehog is a beloved franchise with absolutely no problems. So some backstory, Sonic the Hedgehog was released in 1991 for the Sega Genesis, and now he's depressed and in his 30s. I'm not going to complain for hours on how Sonic has risen, and then fallen, and then risen, and then was shot by a Sega hired sniper.
Wave goodbye to your head, Waker.
We're here to discuss the Sonic the Hedgehog Timeline. Why, you ask? Well, you can thank your good friend Brian Productions. We were talking on Discord on how Jesus is canon to the Sonic universe, and he, being a dumbass, said that the movies and the games were in the same timeline, which if you have more than 2 brain cells, you could definitely deduce that they're not. So as a devout Sonic fan, I see it as my duty to explain why the fuck there are so many different canons. Like, seriously, you could have stopped at like 2 different timelines or whatever, Sega. So without any more procrastination, let us begin. First, we need to set out some ground rules and note some things. The biggest one is that I haven't included a large majority of Sonic media. This is mainly just because I see no need to include it, or it's kinda complicated for my small brain to figure out where to put it. So some games, comics, and TV shows will not be mentioned. Another rule is I'm not including the handheld versions of Unleashed, Colors, Generations, Lost World, or any of the mobile games. The handheld versions are non-canon versions of Sonic's console games. This is evident with games like Colors, where the ending and characters are completely different, and in Generations, where they include entirely different stages to the console version. And the mobile games don't really have any story besides jump and the runners games. And my final rule is Sonic Mania takes place in an alternate dimension to the main Sonic canon. This is implied by this line in Forces where Tails says that he's
You're that Sonic from another dimension, aren't you?
meaning that this isn't the same classic Sonic we met in Generations. A lot of this involves theories and headcanons, so some things might be different to how you see them, and that's okay. It's all Sonic at the end of the day. So let's begin with the first game, Sonic the Hedgehog. That's not even my joke! Sonic the Hedgehog, released in 1991, is the first game in the timeline. Eggman fucks up Sonic's home island and Sonic destroys his shit. This obviously goes at the start of the timeline. Also note that there are only 6 Chaos Emeralds in this game as opposed to the later 7. Next we have 2 spin-off games. First we have Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic, along with Mikey the Armadillo and Ray the Squirrel, have been kidnapped by Eggman and taken to Eggman Island. The trio eventually escape, however. Due to the lack of Tails, this has to be before Sonic 2. Speaking of a 2-tailed flyfuck, we have his solo game, Tails Adventure. In this game, Tails defends Coco Island from the invading Battle Cuckoo Empire. Yes, that is what they are called. This happens before Sonic 2, with Sonic not being present besides one of Tails' abilities. Also, can we briefly mention that Tails decimated this empire and committed several war crimes? Because they woke him up from a fucking nap. I thought Kirby beating up some bandits for stealing his cake was extreme, but Tails takes no fucking prisoners. And now we have Sonic CD, the final game before we get to Sonic 2. Eggman's taken over this place called Little Planet, and Sonic's going to destroy his ship for the 3rd time. This game introduces Metal Sonic, Sonic's metal rival built by Eggman, Amy Rose, Sonic's biggest fangirl, and for the first time in the series, time travel. Luckily it's not too bad here, but it just gets worse as we go on. There's just a second branching timeline from CD where Sonic fails to stop Eggman and Little Planet is his, commonly referred to as the bad future. The main timeline follows the good future though, so no need to worry. And now we finally reach Sonic to what the fuck is this 8-bit shit. So Sonic 1 and 2 both got ports to the Sega Master System and Game Gear. I didn't include the 8-bit Sonic 1 because it's basically the same game but with different levels. But 8-bit Sonic 2 has its own plot. Eggman has kidnapped Tails, so now Sonic has to fuck up 6 robots to get the 6 emeralds, then go destroy Eggman's shit for the 4th time and rescue Tails. I like to think this is the first time Sonic and Tails met, and then the two becomes friends after this. Also, Tails, you defeated an entire empire because they interrupted your beauty sleep. How did you get kidnapped by a fat mustachio villain with a fetish for eggs? So So Sonic 2 has the pair travel to West Side Island to destroy Eggman's ship for, keep it counting, the 5th time. This game also introduces the 7th Chaos Emerald and Super Sonic! Fuck off Dragon Ball, this right here is the real best super transformation. Oh, and also the Death Egg and Silver Sonic. Oh shit, I forgot he was in the 8-bit Sonic 2. So he was in 8-bit Sonic 2, and here he got an upgrade. I guess Eggman needed a replacement with Metal kind of being stuck on a little planet. So they destroy Eggman's shit, and Sonic transforms, the day is saved. Yay! Sonic 3 picks up moments after the Death Egg blows up. The Star Wars lawsuit device lands on Angel Island, home of the Master Emerald, and knock knock his knuckles! However, the sudden force of the Death Egg crashing forced Angel Island to crash into the ocean. Eggman starts to fix the Death Egg while convincing Knuckles that all of this is Sonic's fault. Speaking of the Speedy Spectre, he sets his sights on Eggman and he and Tails fly to Angel Island. Knuckles steals the emeralds, blah blah blah, important law shit. Eggman steals the Master Emeralds, Super Emeralds exist, Hyper-Sonic! Sonic destroys Eggman's ship for the 6th time, and Knuckles is an ally. This game introduces some important stuff for lore, but isn't required too much to understand what's going on. After 3, we can just chuck the rest of the Game Gear spin-offs, Spinball, 3D Blast, and Chaotix here. Game Gear games and Spinball can go wherever within the classic era. I just grouped them up here for convenience. 3D Blast and Chaotix have to take place after 3 because of Knuckles' inclusion. Also, Chaotix introduces the Chaotix Detective Agency, starring Vector Crocodile, SBO Chameleon, and Charmy B. Mighty is also here, but after this game, he and Ray were found guilty of tax evasion and were executed by gun, which is a comedic way of me saying they never appeared again. At least in this timeline. And Metal Sonic returns and gets the shit beaten out of him by our boy Knux. We've got Sonic the Fighters and Sonic R, where Eggman's shit is destroyed for, if you've been keeping count, the 12th and 13th time respectively. Metal Sonic also gets the shit beaten out of him and loses a race. Now, this is probably the most important game thus far in the timeline. Sonic Pocket Adventure. This random spin-off, which is basically just Sonic 2 again, includes the main trio in their classic designs but with their modern eye colors. It also starts with classic Eggman and ends with Eggman with the modern jacket, meaning that this game is the bridge between the classic era and the modern era. Now before we continue into Sonic Adventure, I'd like to step back a little bit to talk about the Sonic OVA. Released in 1996 in Japan and 1999 everywhere else, it's basically a retelling of Sonic CD with elements changed, like Tails and Knuckles being present, South Island having its own president, and no Amy. This is clearly not part of the main canon, so it exists in its own universe away from everything else. And now we get to Sonic Adventure. Eggman destroys the Master Emerald, releasing Chaos, an ancient deity that almost destroyed the ancient Echidna clan from over 4,000 years ago. This is the first game with multiple stories. Sonic and Tails' stories are basically destroy Eggman's ship for the 15th time, with Tails stopping a nuclear strike on Station Square, what the fuck. Knuckles is fixing the Master Emerald and fucking up Eggman and Tails. Amy does something, what's his name doesn't matter, and big. Fish. This game establishes the ancient Echidna tribes, which we will come back to in about 10 years. Also, the reason Metal Sonic is contained on the egg carrier is because he got beat up in the Saturn game, so it's 100% canon and definitely not my headcanon shit. Shut up. Next we have Sonic Shuffle. Who fucking cares? It's Sonic Shuffle, something about crystals and another dimension that's gonna fucking explode or something. Just chuck it here. Next game. Here we go, the big one.
Can you feel life moving through your mind?
Sonic Adventure 2. This game introduces the Ark, Shadow, Rouge, and a fuck ton of other things we'll get back to. Eggman releases Shadow from a gun prison, they do some crime, they somehow mistake Shadow for Sonic and arrest Sonic. He breaks out into one of the best opening stages of all of gaming. gets arrested again. Knuckles and Rouge fight and break the Master Emerald in the desert for some reason. Tails commits war crimes yet again. Amy breaks Sonic out of prison. Eggman blows up Hawaii. Team Sonic are war criminals. Eggman pisses on the moon! They go to space and destroy Eggman's ship for the 16th time, then some lore exposition happens. Shadow is now good and beats up a dragon that fuses with the Ark. Then Sonic and Shadow go super and fuck the bio-lizard shit up. They save the day and Shadow dies. What a story! This is one of the biggest stories thus far, and unfortunately for me, they keep getting bigger. Shadow does come back though, but we'll get to that. Just quickly want to mention Sonic X, the Sonic anime, which adapted the 2 adventure games for episodes. Different canons, moving on. We have the first 2 advanced games. This is just classic Sonic fun in a modern setting. It also introduces Cream, her mother Vanilla, and Cheese and Chocola the Chow. Fuck, I haven't talked about Chow at all in this video. Chow are a thing. And they have a garden. Sonic Heroes. This game follows 4 different teams. Team Sonic want to destroy Eggman's shit for the 19th time. Team Dark starts with Shadow and newcomer Omega teaming up with Rouge to ask Eggman for answers because Shadow's got amnesia and go kill him because oh shit, the robot's angry. Team Rose and also Chocola. And the Chaotix are paid to do shit. The big plot twist is that the person that hired the Chaotix is Eggman because Metal Sonic went haywire. I told you not to upgrade him too much back on the carrier, and the fat man didn't listen to me. So you go super and destroy his shit. But there's a plot line that is left unanswered. At the end of the Dark story, it's revealed that Eggman has a bunch of Shadow clones. Oh yeah, remember how I said Shadow has amnesia? Well, that leads directly into our next game. Hedgehog is a confusing game from a timeline perspective, considering the game has 10 different endings. One ending, Shadow thinks he's an android, then he hates humanity, then he hates himself, and then he likes humanity again. Copy-paste 6 more times. And then there's a true ending.
What?
Yeah, this is the canon ending of the game. The other 10 endings are part of their own timelines that have nothing to do with the main timeline. In the main timeline, Shadow destroys the Black Arms, an alien race. He's regained most of his past and decides to put it behind him. Kind of a nice ending. Now let's make them beat the shit out of each other. Sonic Battle introduces General, an ancient robot called a Gizoid made to learn how to fight from fighting. That is good sentence, me. I don't know what else to say about this game, it just exists. Sonic befriends General because he's Sonic and will befriend anything, and then they all destroy Eggman's ship for the 20th time, baby! Also, General dies. The end. Then Sonic Advance 3. This game takes place after battle, with Eggman using leftover code from General to build his own Gizoid, Emerald. The ending of this game has you team up with Eggman after you destroyed his shit for the 21st time, and then Emerald becomes good and lives with Cream and her family. Nice ending. Sonic Rush, known for funky tunes and being really fucking fast. This game introduces Blaze and the Soul Dimension, which kinda exists separate but parallel to Sonic's dimension. Also, there's Eggman... There's Eggman N, and he and Blaze will come back to... Sonic Riders is the first game in the Riders series. A lot of people say that Riders exists in its own separate canon because of how different it is to the main games, but that's stupid, so I'm keeping it here. The game introduces the Babylon Rogues and the ancient Babylonians that liked hoverboards. Oh, I mean extreme gear. Nothing more to say besides Eggman's shit is destroyed for the 23rd time here, and oh dear God help me for what is next. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Fuck off time travel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would recommend that you strap in for this exposition because holy fuck, they had no idea what they were doing in this. I have to explain this entire game for you to understand how this fucking timeline works out. So we begin 200 years in the future with this dude Silver. His world is shit because of this dude Iblis that began this fiery apocalypse. What the fuck is Blaze doing here? Okay, so after the events of Sonic Rush, Blaze went back to the Soul Dimension, then she decided, hey, why don't I visit my friends in the Chaos Dimension? That's what I'm calling it, deal with it. But for some reason went to the shitty 06 future and then decided to stay around and help out, and she met Silver. Anyway, this dude, Memphis, Tennessee, says he can help them, brings them back to his gamerpad and says Sonic is the enemy. Blaze has amnesia, I guess, because she doesn't remember Sonic. So Mephiles sends them to the present. Speaking of this present, we are in the city of Soliana where they are having a festival for their god Solaris, and this is Elise, she's important. Eggman attacks the festival and he wants these flames of disaster and the Chaos Emerald that Elise has. Sonic shows up and does Sonic things and destroys Eggman's ship for the 24th time. He runs away with Eggman's Gamer Girl and fails. Also, Silver watches from rooftops but is stopped by Amy. Meanwhile, at Eggman's base in Siberia, Shadow is on a mission from Gun to rescue Rouge and the Scepter of Darkness. Back to Sonic, he rescues Elise from the desert, gets back to Soliana, and Silver attacks him. Eggman steals Elise back and Amy stops Silver from killing Sonic. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles go to Eggman's Siberian base and Eggman sends them to the future because he can do that for some reason. But earlier in the story, Shadow and Rouge are in tilted towers and Eggman attacks, accidentally release Mephiles, who is sealed in the Scepter of Darkness, and he takes the form of Shadow. Ha! Then he transports them all to the future where he meets Silver, and Shadow and Rouge meet up with Sonic and the gang. The two time travel with the Chaos Emeralds, but Shadow quickly stays behind because he sees Mephiles. The two argue about gay rights, and then Omega beats the shit out of Mephiles. How did Omega get here? So quickly going back to the present, Rouge gives Omega an emerald and tells him to sit in standby mode until Shadow needs him in the future.
Holy shit.
Keep holding it.
Sonic rescues Elise from a train, and then Silver shows up to attack again. Suddenly Shadow appears from the future. Sonic escapes, and then the best part of the game happens.
Chaos control! Ooh, that's very nice.
Shadow and Silver go back in time to when Solaris was split apart into Iblis and Mephiles. Then Shadow seals Mephiles in the Scepter of Darkness, and Silver helps the Duke of Soliana seal Iblis in his daughter Elise.
Holy shit.
Then Silver gives Elise the Chaos Emerald she had early in the story, but later in time. So they return to the present where Eggman rescues Elise again, and then Eggman kidnaps her again, and Sonic and Silver team up to save Elise. Meanwhile, Shadow, Rouge, and Omega go to fuck up Mephiles and he turns into blackberry juice. They try to seal him up and fail. Then Shadow does some badass shit. Meanwhile, Sonic and Silver travel to the past and future respectively. Silver and Blaze kill Iblis and Blaze fucks off back to the Soul Dimension, I'm guessing. Sonic saves Elise and destroys Eggman shit for the 25th time. That's twice in one game. Oh, but we still aren't done. Mephiles reappears and fucking kills Sonic. Mephiles and Iblis recombine into Solaris and destroy all space and time, but our main characters, minus Blaze, are reunited at the end of the world. But Sonic is somewhat alive, like his soul still exists in the wind or something, so they get the Chaos Emeralds to revive Sonic and hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Wait, no, stop!
Don't let your kids what's it?
So Sonic is alive, he, Shadow, and Silver kill God, time resets with no more Solaris, and the game is essentially semi-retconned. I say semi because the game is referenced in latest gear. Fuck! Okay, so the game has sort of retconned itself from canon. Characters like Elise and Silver still exist, but Iblis and Mephiles don't, meaning that there is no bad future. The bad future does come back in generations, so I've just included it on the timeline here. Oh, thank God, we're finally done with this literal shitpost of a game, so let's move on. Sonic and the Secret Rings is the first game in the Sonic Storybook series. Sonic gets transported to the Arabian Nights after reading it in a storybook and does some shit. This game has fuck all impact on the timeline, which you will see going into the 2010 games. Sonic Rush Adventure comes next, where Sails? Where Sonic and Tails get stuck in the Soul Dimension and go on an adventure in there. Blaze is back and suddenly remembers Sonic again. How convenient! The game ends similar to the original Rush, with Sonic and Blaze destroying Eggman, and Eggman ends shit for the 26th time, and then Sonic and Tails go home. Then we have Sonic Chronicles. The game starts with Eggman's shit being destroyed for the 27th time and the Mad Doctor being presumed dead. It says that some considerable time passes between the prologue and the actual game, so I just chucked Sonic and the Black Knight here because why not? Sonic just goes to fuck up some shit with a talking sword, and that's basically it. Going back to Sonic Chronicles, which I'll have to speed through due to this RPG having a long as fuck plot. Knuckles gets kidnapped, they go to rescue him. These are the Marauders, some pointless bullshit happens. The Marauders are echidnas from the ancient Nocturnus clan, that are rivals of the Knuckles clan, and this is Shade. They meet Nocturnus Emperor Ix, this is a stupid name. Ix betrays Shade and steals from Master Emerald. Shade's a good guy now. The heroes go to the Nocturnus dimension, leaving Eggman, who was helping them, to defend her. That was a terrible mistake and you know it, Sonic. They go fuck up Ix, the end, Eggman's taken over the world. Called it. Okay, so I left out some details, but after a 6, I think it's okay. I try to shorten this up. Like, I'm up to page 6 of the script, and I'm only now halfway through the main timeline. A popular theory is that the cliffhanger of Eggman taking over the world is actually where Unleashed picks up from, and that's what we're using with this timeline. Suck my dick, you can argue in the comments. Sonic Unleashed starts with the best opening cutscene in any Sonic game. You can fucking argue with me, but it's pointless. Sonic destroys Eggman's shit for the 28th time, but Egghead has a trick up his sleeve and uses the negative energy of the Chaos Emeralds to split the Earth apart, which releases Dark Gaia and turns Sonic into the Werehog. Sonic survives, falling from orbit, and meets this dude Chip. One massive world tour later, we learn that Chip is like Gaia, the duo destroy Eggman's ship for the 29th time. Hey, look, a Dreamcast. Dark Gaia appears and sends Eggman blasting up again. Epic final battle, and then the credits roll. Next we have Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Team Sonic and the Babylon Rogues are competing to stop some robots from attaining these arcs of cosmos and destroy Eggman's ship for the 30th time. I placed this one here because it's implied that no one knew what happened to Eggman after Unleashed, and Sonic seems very surprised to find that he's running the main company in the game. And now we have Sonic Colors. Eggman's built an amusement park in space as a disguise for his plot to enslave these alien creatures called Wisps. These little shits are gonna stick around for a while, so get used to them. Sonic and Tails go fuck up this shit for the 31st time, and we have another epic final battle. Eggman gets sucked into a black hole at the end of this game, which is a key plot in the next game, Sonic Generations More Time Travel. So Sonic Generations has the current day Sonic and the classic Sonic go on an adventure through time to stop both Eggmans after modern Eggman enslave this creature called the Time Eater after Sonic Colors. The point in time in which classic Sonic's from has to be after he met Tails because classic Tails appears, but I assume it's before Sonic 3 because there's no classic Knuckles. So classic Sonic came here in between 8-bit and 16-bit Sonic 2. Alright, so timeline corrected, Eggman's shit destroyed for the 32nd time, moving on. No one cares what happens in Free Riders, it was a shit game, obligatory destroy Eggman's shit counter. Now we're at Sonic Lost World. Lost Text, Zeti, destroying Eggman's ship for the 33rd time. Pointless shit, that means nothing. I am running out of words. This game is so fucking nothing in the grand scheme of the Sonic canon. So let's distract ourselves from our main timeline once again and talk about the 4th worst thing to come out on the Wii U, Sonic Boom. The Boom timeline exists in its own universe away from a main Sonic canon, if it wasn't obvious enough from these fucking ugly things. Some characters still exist like Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, Eggman, and surprisingly, Vector. Rise of Lyric and Fire Ice are said to be prequels to the cartoon show. I didn't include the other 3DS game, Shadow Crystal, because it makes no sense for Lyric to die at the end of the first game only to come back and kidnap Amy. So that's the Boom timeline, now we have to talk about Mania and Forces. As I said earlier in this video, Sonic Mania takes place in an alternate timeline to the main series. The Mania timeline follows Sonic 1, CD, 2, and 3, and that's about it. Mania follows Eggman sending some egg robos to get this phantom ruby that was hidden on Angel Island. The ruby can manipulate reality and transforms the egg robos into the hard-boiled heavies, and sends Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles to Green Hill fuck? Why green? The end of the game has Super Sonic destroy Eggman's ship for the 5th time, at least in the Mania timeline, and both he and Maruby are for some reason transported to the main timeline but at different points in time because time travel is bullshit. So before Sonic Forces, there was a comic series released that acted as a prequel to the main game. It shows Eggman discovering Maruby just outside his base, him then hiring the mercenary Infinite, Eggman creating a copy of Chaos and testing it on Angel Island, Infinite fucking murders Omega, and then boring Resistance shit. There's also the episode Shadow DLC, which shows that Infinite got the power of Phantom Ruby after Shadow roasted him. So in the main game, Sonic is captured by Eggman, and then he takes over the fucking world. 6 months pass and the Resistance, along with the custom character, go to break Sonic out of the Death Egg. Meanwhile, Tails is attacked by Chaos. What the fuck are you doing, Tails? You defeated Chaos 4, you can defeat Chaos 0, why are you bending over and offering your ass as a sacrifice? So anyways, because Tails is a defenseless coward now, Mania Sonic appears and teams up with Tails to help him out. Sonic breaks out after beating up Zavok, and then the rest of the game is destroying Eggman's ship for the 34th time and ending in yet another epic battle. Remember Infinite? Fuck did he go? It doesn't matter, as far as we know the Phantom Ruby is gone and Mania Sonic was sent back to his own timeline, which leads directly into Mania Adventures or On-Call mode, it depends which one you want to follow. Then, after Forces, we haven't got much. There's the upcoming Sonic Frontiers that were released later this year, and then there's the IDW comic series that isn't canon and is a divergence from the main timeline, according to the wiki. There's Sonic Prime, the upcoming Sonic Netflix series that we know fuck all about. And then there's the movie timeline that does its own shit. I think that's pretty obvious.
And we've finally explained the entire Sonic timelines. I'm so fucking tired of this video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day or night, and I will see you next time.